What's up, everyone? Tune in today as we talk about making your own Sicilian American style pizza at home. We talk smoked cheese, which states love pizza the most, will Domino's be plowing snow this winter, and the growing trend that it's not just pizza and beer, it's beer pizza. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pizza Roundtable, part of the Pizza Club Network, where we host some of your favorite pizza personalities from all around the world. You're here with us tonight for Pizza Roundtable, where we talk about some of the biggest pizza news of the week. I'm your host tonight, Will Dumas, and I'm joined by my guest host, Jim Mumford. Jim is both a cookbook author and a writing contributor for the media publication Inside Hook. Jim, welcome as always. What's going on, man?
Hey, well, good to see you, bud.
You too. We got some exciting articles to talk about tonight. I think why not? Let's kick things off first with an article by an author we may know. So let me share this one. This one is from Inside Hook. I can't believe it.
Heard of that?
How to make Italian American style Sicilian pizza. So, Jim, this is it's a good looking pizza. What do we think, man? Tell me all about this article and how it came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm of Sicilian heritage, right? So this is the pizza I grew up with. I didn't know there was other pizza till I was a teenager. So what I did, this is literally my grandmother's recipe, and there are a ton of ways maybe to make Sicilian. This is how I learned to make mine. Very approachable pizza, not a lot of stretching, not a lot of thinly rolling. It's very approachable. So really fun one to write, even more fun to taste and try out. But Sicilian, if you're new to pizza, kind of maybe on the fence about making your own, I think it's a perfect one to start with.
I love it. So I appreciate the background, a bit of an introduction to it too. I love when you kind of, the opening to us where it's kind of like, what comes to mind when you think pizza? Perfect start to it, Jim, because I think too, like all the time, it's always like, do I think New York slice as like the classic pizza, or do I think like Chicago, right, as a baseline? So inherently for you automatically think Sicilian. But just wondering, where do you think most people fall? Do you think New York is like the de facto, like I think of pizza, or is it really dependent where you come from?
I think it's New York. I think 99% of people would think of the big traditional triangle, right? The floppy slice, and
sure.
Maybe, right, you might have a Chicago or a deep dish, but I think most people would think of that classic slice. And why shouldn't they, right? That's the pie that kind of started it all, and it makes perfect sense. But the way I grew up, pizzas were a rectangle. They weren't a circle, and
sure.
Circle was the abnormal one. So, and it is funny, right? It depends where you grow up, who you grow up with, but for most people, I think it's the classic slice. But again, we all grow up different and have, and that's kind of the fun of pizza, right? Every slice you have is compared against the pizza you grew up with.
Nope, I'm with you there. What I thought was interesting, I'd love to talk about just for a second, and then we'll talk about the recipe. So I'm intrigued to hear it. When you made a comparison in here to, I think, a style that a lot of people are probably familiar with nowadays, which is kind of the uprising of Detroit, right, in general. So I mean, distinctively give us some highlights how Sicilian differentiates itself from Detroit, and I mean, like, essentially, right? I mean, Sicilian's there first, right? So I mean, that is the OG from the square pies. I'll say that way.
You're absolutely right. I mean, with all the variants of the Sicilian Detroit, they're really, really similar. The difference is, right, a Detroit's going to have maybe a specific cheese with the cheese rim. It's going to have a little bit more cooked specific sauce. Other than that, right, they're basically a very similar pie. Sicilian would be probably a little more flat, Detroit a little more stout. Generally, though, with all the variants and all the people doing their own takes, the lines have been kind of blurred back from Sicilian turned into Detroit. Now they're kind of turning back. But you still have, the big, fluffy, crunchy, dough. You have the cheese on the bottom, sauces on the top. Those characteristics kind of carry on to both styles.
So from that point, when you're kind of describing it quickly from a style perspective, we're looking for, and I think when we think Detroit, we're looking those crisp edges, right? For the most part, coming out of it. I mean, we're looking for Sicilian. We're looking for more pillowy, soft chew, but not a crisp to it. I mean, how do we kind of describe the difference?
Yeah, I would say Sicilian's going to more like a focaccia, right? Where there's a little crisp, but it's not going to give you any resistance. It's going to be pillowy. It's going to be airy. A variant of the Sicilian, the grandma pie, is going to be a little bit more crisp, a little bit more crunchy, right? It's not as risen. So where Detroit, right, it's all about that crunch, the oil of the cheese in the pan, as it should be, right? So
Sure.
your Detroit's gonna have a lot more texture, especially in the corners, where Sicilian's gonna be a little more pillowy, but a good one's still gonna give you a little bit of bite.
So are you a corner or a middle guy for him?
Of course, I'm a corner guy. I'm almost offended you ask about you, corner milk. And I caught that reference, by the way. I slipped that. I slipped in a Sally
I
Slice's
saw
reference
that. I saw
into
that.
the article. My editor did not catch it, thank God. So
Telling you the truth, Detroit's I'm more corner. For Sicilian, I kind of like a little more pie, so I'm kind of in the middle more so. I know probably the one you actually want on your team. So like, I'll take the middle
oh,
slice, right?
absolutely, two of us to split a pie any day. I think that's a great match.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the recipe
Sure.
that you've got here. So quickly, I'll share it up here just so we can all see it as well. All right. So baseline, Jim, bread flour. Bread flour is a starting point. And any difference or variation if we go away from it? If can we sub in AP flour, or do we need to use something finer, or why bread flour?
I like bread flour just because it's more approachable. I think it allows for a little bit less rise time. A lot of recipes, including my grandmother's, called for all purpose, right? They didn't have all special flours. You use what you had. So not a must here like it is in some styles, but I think it makes it a little bit easier, especially for the newer pizza chef.
Okay. And then also noted you said bottled water, particularly.
I
Tell
did.
me, I
It's
know there
almost a
might be.
throwback to my first article. Uh,
Absolutely.
So yeah, it really comes down to your tap water has stuff in it, minerals and chlorine. I don't know what's in your tap water. I know
Yeah.
what's in bottled water, and it's a lot cleaner. And this one really, the rise is everything. So having extra minerals and chlorine and things that might inhibit rise hurts the process. So
Okay.
bottled water is really really important, not filtered, bottled. So you've got kind of a cleaner benchmark to what you're working with.
Okay, I can appreciate that. And then I know you mentioned always, cooking the sauce here. I'm going through this quickly. Pure
Mhm.
standard: olive oil, salt, sugar, oiled, obviously for this dough.
Oh yeah.
Totally, always a cooked sauce though for a Sicilian. And you're doing it with tomato paste for that sauce, then?
I am always cooked sauce, always tomato paste. It gives that sweetness that just I think is kind of unreplaceable, right? Unless you are growing your own tomatoes and have super super fresh and super sweet. The spike of tomato paste kind of sets that richness and also lowers the moisture content, right?
Oh,
So
okay,
water is the enemy of this style. So you have
sure.
to get all the moisture out, and a great way to do that is use the paste.
Okay. And now you're going crushed tomatoes versus whole tomatoes and crushing
Mhm.
them
I am.
distinctly so that way. Okay,
Distinctly
got it.
so, again, for kind of the
Water
moisture
factor.
and the standardization, right? Listen, a professional kitchen, they can get away with that, right? They've got the ovens, they get up to 500-600. Our ovens don't. So you
Yep.
have to make some concessions. Sometimes this is one of them.
All right, I love it. So listen, I'll last thing. Let's just hit just for technique on it. There's a quick mix. I don't want to say it's like a Polish or a vegan, but I
Mhm.
mean it's a quick 5 minute start of your flour, kind of
Yep.
saturate it, and then we're adding additional flour on top of that. We're using a mixer if possible, and that's really kind of the
That's it.
main component to that, right? I mean, it's set it and forget it after that point in time. But I guess the key that you kind of differentiate here is like the double rise, right? So
Right.
that's up to 3 days in the fridge. Wow,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have thought that long.
Yeah, you can, right? It only gets better with time.
Mm-hmm.
True Sicilian has that big airy, and you get that just with the slow rise. And because we're not doing all the other advanced techniques, right, to build the gluten and to build the air, you
Yeah,
can make up with that with time, right? Again, a professional chef might have more mixing or different styles, like say the pula. That's not approachable to everyone. This style, right? Let it rise a day or two in the fridge, get in the pan, stretch it, do whatever, let it get that
yeah,
double rise, and then go is pretty foolproof. I've been doing this way for a while. With variations of the par baking, and again, that's a little more advanced for the
sure,
average
sure.
inside hooker ear. But this is your no frills basic Sicilian that'll get you there every time.
Okay, I like it. I mean, I guess same time, right? Time heals all wounds and all pizzas. Same way, I guess, huh?
You got that right, bud.
All right, man. Lastly, I did notice distinctly this is a cheese first, then sauce, and then is that always? I feel like I've seen a lot of Sicilians, at least out in the wilderness or the wild where I'm seeing them, right? And there's always a drapery of cheese on top. That's not a dusting. That's clumpy. They kind of pull off. Is that the idea behind the cheese on the bottom? See that so you don't get that?
Yeah, I mean, there are different ways, right? If you par bake, you put the layer of sauce, you par bake it, you set it, and then you put the cheese and the sauce. This is how I grew up, right? Where the slices
Okay.
of cheese and the sauce on top, like a Detroit. But a grandma pie, which is the cousin of Sicilian, probably has
Yep.
sauce in the bottom, and then the cheese. Listen, there's a lot of ways to do it. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong. This is just how I grew up, so this is how I wrote the article.
I love it. I love it, man. All right, cool. And I know I did notice you mentioned some toppings, possibilities here. But favorite topping for you on a Sicilian? Is it
Pep-
different? Is it different than other styles for you? Just to press
yes,
it. Okay.
yes, absolutely. Sicilian pepperoni, banana peppers all day, the best combination for Sicilian in my eyes. Right, they're flat, they're even, right.
Yeah.
They're evenly displaced, and they're huge flavor in the kind of a longer cooking than most. So an
Mm-hmm.
onion or a sun dried tomato might burn or dry out. These are hardier, and they can
Yeah.
withstand the cooking.
Dude, I love it. As always, definitely, guys. If you want to check this article out from Jim and try this recipe, Jim, I will definitely be trying in the weeks upcoming. I'll put
I'm
it on
honored.
the gram and let you know what it looks like, man, for
For
sure.
sure. I'm excited to see what you think of the kind of the 1.0 Sicilian recipe.
Oh, I dig it. Oh, I forgot to ask Jim. From a hydration perspective, I know you did mention here, right? Just for anyone kind of approaching it for the first time, the dough is definitely going to be sticky, right? Because
Mhm.
it's got a high hydration rate, or otherwise said like a high water content, right? To the dough. I
Right.
mean, roughly from a percentage standpoint, what do we think that is?
I think this one was approaching 70%, a little bit
Okay.
higher. Most are right in the 60s. Again, this one higher, so it's very sticky. But again, you want that rise. You need that moisture to kind of set that texture because we're not doing some of the really, really crazy things to get it otherwise.
I love it. I love it. Hey, man, listen, the set it and forget it style, I think, is easily approachable from the beginning, and it looks like it's going to yield a pretty good result. So
No, I
let us know if
appreciate
anyone
that,
else
bud.
tries it too. We're happy to hear. Talk to us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tag me. I love
Yeah,
the critique. Listen, there are no bad pizzas, so
agreed.
excited to see
Agreed.
it.
All right, cool, man. Thanks very much for contributing to this one. I'm so happy to get to talk about your own article for today, dude.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, so listen, let's talk a little bit about an article that popped up for me in Pizza Today. So
Okay.
this one, I don't have a lot of experience here, but I'm intrigued if you do, Jim, and in the sense that I think there's a distinctive style, perhaps, that kind of goes along with this for the most part. But oh, sorry, let me grab your article. Apologies there.
Oh, you can keep it up all you want.
Sorry, guys. All right, let me share this one. This was the idea of a smoked cheese. And I said, this one's out of Pizza Today. I don't have a lot of experience in smoked cheese on pizza. And I'm wondering if you do, Jim, only because I know you're a bit of a regional specialist, right? As I can call you, from pizza
Sure.
styles. And I think tell me if correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the like St. Louis style that's got like the smoked, or Provel? Is it Provel style cheese that is a
Yeah,
smoked
the
cheese?
Provel,
That's the
which is
first one that comes to mind.
yeah, and St. Louis style, right, has that Provel. It's very processed, but some do use kind of a smoked cheese element. I've used smoked provolone. I've used smoked cheese. To me, I think it gets lost with all the flavors, right? I mean, think of
Mm-hmm.
all the complex flavors, and smoke is so subtle. That has to be done very purposely. You're not just going to make your average pie with it. Um, you need something where you really need to understand the smoke as an element and not overwhelm it. But and smoking cheese is, as the article says, is very difficult to do. It has to be a cold smoke. Obviously, it gets hot, then you melt the cheese and you change the proteins. So smoking cheese is difficult and honestly a little expensive. Um,
Yep.
but I've used smoked provolone. I've used that almost kind of like a finish, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
again, because when you heat it, you lose some of those elements. I would just kind of think, I would wonder if there's the style in Ohio that has the cold grated cheese on top that's not cooked.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
smoked
Yep.
cheese would be wonderful in that, right? Give it a chance to kind of shine. And
Mm.
you know, you melt it and you heat it, it changes a lot of those smoky characteristics. So I would wonder if any of I think it's Old Forge, any of them, or Ohio Valley, any of those pizza
Yeah.
places use smoked cheese. If you're watching, try it, because I think that would actually be really interesting and really good.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool idea to do the smoked cheese at the end. And I agree, I'm with you. Like just like anything smoked, right? Like you think about it, a little goes a long way. And I think the
Mhm.
article here they also reference that away in general, right? Like there's a distinctive smoke flavor to it, and that can easily become overwhelming if you're too long. But in the
Right,
same breath, if you're not actually putting enough, then it's not there,
it
right? So like
dies.
actually finding a balance seems to be like a really tough thing to use, especially with this approach where there's a lot of other flavors potentially going on that pie. Because I don't think you would just be. Well, give me your thoughts too. I wouldn't just be like to me a plain pie with the smoked cheese. It would seem like you'd have to kind of build some other toppings or ingredients around that inherently as well.
And it would have to be the right pie, right? You'd want to have something that's
Yeah.
grilled or charred, right, to complement. Because again, right, if you just put smoked cheese on a normal, Neapolitan, I think it'd be out of place, right? It needs something to sing against, some sweetness, something super
Yep.
savory, just like you would barbecue, right? If you think of a sweet and savory barbecue sauce on ribs, you'd want to emulate those flavors in your pie.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I was thinking about that from a barbecue perspective, right? Kind of trying to balancing what that looks like. So, all right. I mean, I'm gonna have to try it. Maybe if anyone else here has any thoughts on the smoked cheese, I'm happy to talk about it. Smoked mozzarella is probably one of the only other ones that I've had some. I don't know, like I've been around and tried it. Not my jam per se, but
Yeah, it's funky, right? It's not a normal smoke like you would on meat, right? It's got a very distinct,
no.
almost acrid flavor, right? That again
Hmm.
has to be really carefully balanced. I've never had it perfect, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
They say if anyone nails it, I'd love to hear what you did.
Yeah, as I say, for like smoked mozzarella that I've always tried, it felt kind of dense or heavy as opposed to like the kind of watery texture that you're normally or lighter texture that you're getting from a really nice mozzarella. But
Right.
all right, whatever. We'll see. All right, if anyone else tries it, I'm happy to see, guys. Cool. Let's talk about some upcoming changes potentially to the pizza marketplace. And this one is coming out of Axios,
Mhm.
talking about Whole Foods. So I mean, I'm chatting about it because they particularly reference the idea of an apprenticeship, which I think is kind of cool for the
It's
industry,
really
but
cool.
in general. Kind of a lost art at sometimes, right? For coming in. So this one, like I said, out of Axios, Pizza Making Anyone, Whole Foods aims to revive culinary apprenticeships. So essentially, butchery, cheesemongering, cake decorating, and soon pizza making, Whole Foods Markets is reviving the flagging art of culinary apprenticeships. Why it matters in the era of labor shortages, apprenticeships are a proven workforce training model that inspires employee loyalty and drives customer satisfaction. So the news here, though, out of Whole Foods, the next two apprenticeships, pizza making and produce specialists, will be followed by fishmongering. These are paid, learn on the job positions, typically with no experience required. So, I don't know, Jim, on that point, if I could just like walk into Whole Foods and be like, hey, make me a pizza maker and pay me, it sounds kind of cool. Give me your thoughts on what Whole Foods is doing and the idea of apprenticeships, particularly focused on pizza in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, I love it, right? Pizza making is an art, right? And it takes time, but it also takes some skill. And there are some classes you can take. I know the Culinary Institute around Chicago offers them, but to have truly offer the apprenticeship, I think is wonderful. My grandfather ran a grocery store, and he would training butchers and training fishmongers, right, was something that you had to do because you
Yeah.
can't just walk off the street. But culinary degree is kind of overkill. So how do you find that happy medium? I love it, and hats off to them. Teaching people artisan skills, which again I feel like kind of fell off the radar, right?
Yeah.
A lot of ways for a lot of years. Um, so good for them to bring it back. I think pizza is a great one where people can really make really good careers, starting with pizza, but understanding baking and intricacies of breads, right? There's more than just one thing they can do.
Yes.
So I love it, and hats off to them.
That's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned baking because I think it's one of those things sometimes people kind of overlook or think about. But I mean, listen, pizza to me is a baked product, and
Mhm.
baking is such a major part of it. Science is if you're getting to the higher echelon of pizza making, science is relative. It's not just throwing things together, right? We're very distinctive in what you're using from percentages, just like a
Right.
baker would. So it's always some overlap.
Absolutely, right. And it's also a combination of baking, right, pastry skills and savory skills.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think it's a great skill to learn that you can go into, savory, you can go into pastry. It's a good springboard, and maybe test the waters if you want to kind of advance your career.
Yeah, cool. I'm with you. All right, let's keep it moving. This one, I think, I have a good feeling you're gonna have some thoughts on it. In that I've definitely tried using this ingredient before, but I'm intrigued to see it coming back maybe more because I think it's an interesting pairing that's always talked about, right? So this one out of Nation's Restaurant News, NRN, pizza and beer come together in a single menu item. A growing number of restaurant operators are merging the beloved pairing into pies. So first, I'll start off, Jim. In general, have you ever made a beer pie? I have a feeling I know the answer to this question, but tell me about it.
You know the answer I have. So yeah, I do have a recipe that does use beer in pizza dough. It's wonderful. It kind of gives a sourdough flavor. It changes how the yeast comes together. The sugars caramelize. It's one of my go-tos. I absolutely love it. It's very difficult, right? Because it changes again how the yeast rises, the dough hydrates. But I absolutely love doing it. I love that people are kind of experimenting with the different beers to get the flavor profiles. So all for it.
Yeah, that's the thing I think is a bit of a nuance to it. I know people always think, oh, kind of using beer or wine as an ingredient in general in recipes are kind of just like, oh, put whatever in there. But I think it's really important that like they're distinctive flavors that are actually going to come through. I think it's one of those
Right.
things people hear about and they're like, oh, sure, the flavor will come through. But no, it really does, particularly
Oh
right,
yeah.
depending upon the profile of what you're using there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, quad say's pie, for example, has like the malt in it and has very malty undertones. That's why I
Mhm.
use beer on, because again, a lot of the same ingredients. It's really a great way to kind of let it come together and let some of those really interesting, the Hefeweizen and the stout flavors shine. Again, like the smoked cheese, it's got to be done right. It's got to be done purposely, but when done correctly, it's really, really wonderful.
Yeah, I can see that. I want to get your thoughts on one of these pies that they reference in here. So, and I will say I've never used beer in like a long ferment. I've only used it the idea of maybe trying to produce something quickly and generating some quick yeast to save some time and then really
You
get
got
some rise expeditiously. But that's when I've used it. But I'm gonna have to try to build it into something a bit more long term. But what do you think about this? This is a bratwurst simmered in local Beers at Pizza for Brewers Hill slice from the Street Za food truck in Milwaukee. That looks like a bratwurst and sauerkraut pie. Jim, what do you think about it?
It's the most, you could eat that at a Packers game and call it the most Wisconsin thing in the world. I love it. It again, right? It's a pastry, right? It's maybe not as pizza, but I'm sure it's delicious. There's nothing bad about any of that. So I would say I'll try a slice twice, and the feeling I'd really, really like that one.
Oh man, I love it. All right, well, listen, talking about spreading pizza around the world. This one up next is out of WTNH. We're talking about how often or how much Connecticut residents Google pizza. Apparently, guys, Connecticut residents Google pizza more than any other state. I'm not saying per se I'm shocked by it. I mean, I'm definitely thinking the Northeast. Connecticut over something like New York, perhaps, but I mean, Connecticut is really up and coming, obviously, in the pizza scene,
Mhm.
especially from where we're chatting about New Haven. But I don't know.
Right.
Shocked by any of this data? Let me highlight them first, guys. In general, Connecticut being the number one search for the term pizza than any other state, according to Google Trends. That's where the data is from. It's followed by Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and then Massachusetts. And then finally, on the flip side, the states that are least Googling of of pizza are Washington D.C., Utah, New Mexico, Washington, and California. So, Jim, what do we think? Anything surprising about this?
Not really. I kind of thought New York would be top, honestly.
Same, same,
New
same.
York, right? New England certainly. Kind of thought even
Yeah,
Michigan, right? But not totally surprising. I am surprised to see California on the flip side. Um,
yeah.
with all, listen, there's some great artisan pies in California, and that's really up and coming. So that surprises me a lot. Utah, maybe not as much, but even Washington, D.C. has really, really good pizza and really good variety. So again, it's Google, right? You got to take it. If you live across the street from a place, you're probably not going to Google it, probably.
Fair,
So I'm
fair.
sure there's probably a sociological aspect to all of this, but yeah, the New
Ah.
England the area is it for pizza. We all know that going down to New York, so not totally shocked.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I didn't think about that. So, like, population density perhaps makes it different from what you're Googling because they're so near to you. Maybe you're just walking to your favorite spot, right? Versus like, oh, hey, is something new. That's interesting, right? Well, maybe
Yeah,
we can get a response on that. So we'll see.
you tell I'm mired in sociology, so I think about these weird things. So oh,
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, one thing I did forgot to highlight in general, also to the article, worldwide. However, it is a U.S. territory that Google's pizza more than anything else. That top spot goes to Puerto Rico. Absolutely was not expecting that, and then followed by the U.S. After that. Puerto Rico, I was not thinking on the top Google search from external from everywhere. Like, wow, that one
so
I'm shocked at.
I probably get more page views on my site about pizza from Puerto Rico than the rest of the world combined. I don't know why. This backs it up, and it's kind of interesting to hear. But I don't know if there just isn't a lot of pizza there, so people make it themselves. It's not a restaurant thing. But tons of traffic from Puerto Rico about pizza, just pizza, nothing else. Like anything else I do. But yeah,
What?
pizza. So again, I'm sure there's a reason there, but yeah, Puerto Rico.
That's so interesting. We're going to dig more into this. I want to understand why. What's the deal? I mean, is there a distinctive like Puerto Rican pizza style or pizza or questions that you get in any way to kind of give you some thoughts on like what are people making there the most? Or everything you can take away?
It's the Brooklyn style is what most people look at. So just you
Mm.
kind of a standard, right? The pizza you think about when you think about
Yeah,
pizza. It's not any other regional varieties, but just the standard New York pie. I would say most of my traffic, and I don't know if they don't have pizza restaurants there. It's more
yeah.
home based cook. I don't know, but yeah, it shocked me the first time. Like I must have one really ambitious fan down there or something. So really interesting to see this article.
Dude, that's crazy. All right,
Yeah.
interesting, man. All right, well, listen. Let's talk a little bit because Jim, I think you live in snowy regions, as I once did. An interesting article or promotion, any way you want to describe it. I mean, it's just another Domino's offering that is just out there. This one I picked this one up. This was all over, but I picked this one up from my Journal
Everywhere.
Courier. Domino's offering plow grants so customers can get their pizza in the winter. I mean, what are they possibly going to think of next, guys? In general, Domino's is awarding $500,000 in grants for snow plowing so that carryout customers can have access to hot pizza even on the coldest and snowiest days. So, in general, the promotion works as follows. Customers can nominate up to 20 cities to get up to $25,000 in snow plowing grants. Visit the website Plowing for Pizza to submit the zip code of their hometown for a grant. The nomination ends on the 21st. Apparently, this is going to be going on like a rolling basis so that like people can actually get awarded this money during the winter when we're going to get snow. So, I mean, what do you think
Love
about
it.
this, man?
I would like to shake the hand of the person who's in charge of marketing at Domino's because every week we talk about something new. I'm like, all right, that's pretty funny. It's cool. It's probably a tax write-off form that they can, pose as
Yeah.
marketing. So good for them. And hey, right? I mean, snow plowing here. I live in Michigan. It's a big deal, right? I mean, people make their careers off it. So I'm sure every little bit helps. And again, kudos to Domino's for coming up with tax write-off ways to promote themselves.
Absolutely. I'm sharing the site here quickly. The snow plowing site. I mean, it's pretty interactive. Like you can
Mhm.
nominate, simple as that, zip code that you're looking for, email address, and you can get out there and get a plowing grant. It's pretty cool. And it looks
I,
like, to be honest, you don't even have to opt in for the marketing email. So I'm interested in that. Maybe they really are just giving it away here.
maybe Like I say, I nominated, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Why not, right? I mean, a little bit to keep the roads safer. It's interesting. It's altruistic. It's marketing. It checks all the boxes. And listen, they
Yeah.
might not be my favorite pizza, but they're my favorite pizza company, right?
Yeah.
Just all
I
the
mean, it's hard to
brilliant
compete.
marketing.
We always say, like, at least I always do here, we, like, as you said, right, we're constantly seeing articles and things coming out, but I mean, like, they're catchy, they're interesting, they're innovative, they get people to talk about them, and like, why not? I mean, like, literally sign up your zip code and put an email address and see if you guys can get pizza. If you're a small town, like, this could actually be pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that directly, goes back to a community, right? It's not something where it's going to people. So it's interesting. I like it. And again, it makes the road safer. It makes pizza easier. Why not? Good for them. But I like
Yeah.
this one a lot.
Yeah, this one was good. I actually feel good about this one. All right, let's talk a little bit about this one from 9to5 Toys. This is we're getting a lot of articles coming out for end of the year talking about like what ovens to buy in general, right? And what's hot to get, what's new to do. This one I wasn't that familiar with, but I want to get your kind of thoughts on it. This one is Chefsman's indoor pizza oven offers 6 options of pizza styles at an all-time low of 350. This one just came out the other day. Looks like in general the oven itself is an indoor style oven from 300 to 800 degrees, and there's I think 6 distinctive settings that they have for per pizza style. So there's like a Neapolitan setting, a New York setting, so on and so forth. So in general, I'm interested, Jim. What are your thoughts? Just first glance at the oven, but just also on the same idea of like the growing popularity very quickly of these really high temp indoor pizza ovens coming to market.
I mean, I love it, right? We've talked before that they're great for everything besides pizza, right? Veggies and meats. And so, I like it. It looks like it's a good size. It looks like it's a good price. I don't have one. I don't know the heft. I don't know how quick it heats up or
Of course.
any of the specs on it. But listen, you really can't go wrong. And, I would bet, what the air fryer was 5-10 years ago, the indoor pizza oven is going to become just with versatility, especially if I was in college again, I'd have one, right? You cook anything on it, reheat it. And so, yeah, I love it. And, I said the price looks right. And at this point, it's not if, it's what, right? And you shop
Yeah.
and get the right model. And this might be it for some people.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. It's certainly one of the things I'm interested in. I love the outdoor oven, but sometimes it gets to be like too hot or it's too cold, and like the convenience of having it indoor, being able to turn on real quick, not have to like move it, right? Like set it up outside.
Right.
You can literally leave it on your countertop and be able to generate that high heat. Like it's pretty intriguing. I'm gonna say I'm looking forward to maybe spending time with a friend or two that might has a Volt, so I can try it out and get a good feel for it. That's probably the next step I'm going for. But
Come on over, bud. No, you nailed it, right? Because outdoor, especially like I live in Michigan, right, where
yeah,
high winds and snows can really, really affect things, and it gets you don't really do it in the garage. So, yeah, that my indoor model slowly is becoming my go to, especially they're bigger and they've made ways to make them safe, right?
yeah.
And safe to touch, especially with young kids. They're kind of no brainers.
All right. Listen, I want to get your thoughts on the next pizza. I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to throw up the image, and I'm intrigued to get your thoughts on it, Jim. Here, what do we think about this pie? Oh, come on, load, no!
I think that's a salad. Again, I'm not a pizza expert, Will, but I'm pretty sure that's a lovely looking chef salad.
No, Jim, it is not. It is a easy pizza salad from the Recipe Critic. This fresh and hearty pizza salad has all of the delicious flavors of a classic pizza, but without the crust. The healthier, low-carb version of a slice of pepperoni pizza, fresh out the box, is loaded with delicious ingredients that will make you come back for more. So, we're always talking about pizza-adjacent items, right? And so, I
Yeah.
mean, this one definitively to me is not pizza. But I will say, I totally can appreciate like a salad pie personally. I don't know if it's like a New York thing or like upper state New York kind of thing, but this looks like a good salad to me. I'm totally down. Pepperoni in it, some olives, pepperoncinis. Like this to me
Yeah.
looks like a pizza. a great side item to a pizza. I'd even put it on a pizza. Totally, I'd be down for that as well. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about this one?
Yeah, you nailed it, right? It's not pizza. It's inspired by a lot of classic pizza flavors and toppings, and it looks like a really nice salad. I do think you can't eat pizza every night. At a certain point, lettuce and veggies have to win at some point. So it's a good compromise. You hit the flavors, right? I do a pizza soup, which plays on the same thing. So it's not pizza, but you're right. It's inspired by pizza flavors. It looks like a really nice salad.
I love it. All right, listen, we'll talk finally one more item that I think is out there for the holidays, just because we're on the trend here of pizza related items. So this one is I pulled it off the Trend Hunter, and this is a pizza themed cocktail kit. This is Hormel Pepperoni Bloody Mary Kit makes a savory seasonal cocktail. So Hormel launched the Ultimate Pepperoni Bloody Mary Cocktail Kit as a limited edition offering for pizza lovers who are looking for unique holiday gifts, beverages to bring to a seasonal gathering, or something festive to sip on National Bloody Mary Day. I don't know if it's pizza, but what do you think? Are you down for Bloody Mary in the first place?
Yeah, I'm in the right saying, right? I think it has to be a Sunday morning over brunch about 10:30. I'm there. It looks really interesting. I think I'm more interested in the pickle pepper vodka and the garlic hot sauce.
Absolutely.
But listen, pepperoni is great in anything, and I think it plays right. It's marketing. I don't think I necessarily go out of my way for it, but you put one in front of me in the right setting with the bratwurst and sauerkraut pizza, and I think I'd have a party.
Yeah, I'm down to try it. I mean, it's interesting, especially a release from Hormel, so perhaps just a way to kind of increase their appeal out there and tell, cross promote to something else is interesting. I personally haven't seen like a Bloody Mary kit. I feel like it's a good idea people do take. Although I feel a lot of holiday gatherings are a little bit later, perhaps than like a brunch or morning time. So I don't know, but I guess I'd try it.
Yeah, I get pepperoni's probably not. Pepperoni sales aren't peaking right in November, December, so brand relevance is important. So again, good for them, right? It's a nice option. The flavors look carefully crafted, which I respect. So it's not just like put pepperoni and tomato sauce and call it. It looks intentional. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here.
All right, you know what? We got time for one more, actually, real quick, because this always intrigues me. Kind of like when you're looking to, let's say, create something that is something, but then it turns into something else, right? So I'll say here, this one, Happy Joe's unveils new pizza burgers inspired by its popular pies. This one from wquad.com. It's an ABC8 affiliate, I believe. So the new menu item is turning the pizza parlor's most popular pizzas into burgers using the same toppings found on its pizza menu. So I guess they're based in Iowa, so I'm intrigued for some of your thoughts. Apparently, they have a unique menu of pizzas, obviously, that are a bit outside the regular zone of your standard Italian American based offering. So we've got a sloppy Joe burger, a taco burger, taco supreme, a BLT, mac and cheese, the HJ special burger, which is a burger topped with pizza sauce, mozzarella, Canadian bacon, and crispy sauerkraut, just as unique as the namesake pizza. So intriguing in general. Jim, what do you think about the idea of the particular pizzas, but also the idea of just taking your pizza and turning it into a burger? Does it work, or is it just another way to say it's pizza something and it is not?
Yeah. So I know Happy Joe's, right? That's a pretty famous Quad Cities style pizza joint. So I like their pizzas, and they're kind of wacky out there. I'm not a pizza burger guy, right? I've tried a bunch, and I don't know, for some reason, a burger's a burger, pizza's a pizza, and just the flavors are too similar and yet not different enough. So I've never been a fan of the pizza burger. But some of their mac and cheese on a burger, I understand it, right? And I get sauerkraut on a burger. So I guess if you're gonna have wacky variants, why not put it on a burger? I don't think it's more of a stretch than just pepperoni and sauce like a lot of places do. So I don't know. Again, I try it once, but I think these are just burgers based on pizzas, which are based on pizzas, right?
Yeah, so it's like which came first here? Circular reference.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah, you're in a do loop here of pizza and burgers. So, but they do make a wonderful pie, and I trust them. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it right.
What style of pizza do they do in general?
It's the Quad Cities, so it's cutting the strips with the malty crust, and
Yes.
so again, a little bit out there, a little bit further away from typical, stereotypical pizza as is. So again, you're
Yep.
you're stepping your way through it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm also I don't go the pizza burger route personally. Like I'm just there's so many unique items to put on it to make a burger out of or
Right.
do. So I don't need a pizza burger. But hey, listen, if they're good, I'll try one again. I'm with you there, right? But I'm not seeking it out. I'll put
You
it
got
that
it.
way.
You got
All
it.
right, cool. Well, listen, man, Jim, as always, man, I'd like to thank you for coming on tonight. We had some fun articles to go through, man. Tell us where can everyone find you across social media, especially if they want to comment on your article or make your pizza. Drop a line to you, man.
There you go. So you type Jim Cook's Food Good wherever you get social media or InsideHook.com. You'll find me there. And Bud, thanks for having me as always. This is the best part of my week.
Awesome, man. Listen, thanks everyone else for joining us tonight. Please, guys, if you can, like and subscribe our video. Check out the I Need Pizza Club page here on YouTube. There's a bunch of other videos that you can check out as well, or video pods. And on that note, guys, check us out next week for another episode. Thanks all.
Cute.
See you, buddy.